Grab your popcorn because the liberals are melting down over Elon Musk's $44 billion takeover of Twitter. The lefties can't stand the thought of the world's richest man bringing free speech to the platform and allowing conservatives to actually speak their minds without the threat of being banned. So the media is doing its best to smear the guy.
That it's about free speech of straight white men. And so let them have it. Let them just go at it. I enjoy the block button on Twitter.
Elon Musk calls himself a free speech absolutist. Well, first of all, that's BS.
Elon Musk buying Twitter says a lot about the priorities of people at the highest levels making decisions that could affect the fate of the planet.
If you own all of Twitter or Facebook or what have you, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to be transparent. You could secretly ban one party's candidate or all of its candidates. The rest of us might not even find out about it till after the election.
And guess who the media is getting their talking points from? Democrats in the Biden White House also trashing Musk.
No matter who owns or runs Twitter, the president has long been concerned about the power of large social media platforms, the power they have over our everyday lives, has long argued that tech platforms must be held accountable for the harms they cause.
When a billionaire amasses this much power, he plays by a different set of rules than everyone else. And that means one person can literally turn upside down millions of people across this country communicate.
Musk is hitting back at all the critics with this tweet, quote, "The extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all." All right, Jesse, have we ever in the history of this country seen so many Democrats absolutely petrified of a constitutionally protected First Amendment free speech where they label the words that are as of yet unsaid as misinformation based upon who might say them?
Yeah, I haven't seen them this scared since Trump got on Twitter during the election. Permission to make an analogy? Sure. Permission to also hold your hand. You know when people come out of the closet?
Geez.
Okay.
And you know what that means when you come out of the closet? You're kind of just bearing your soul to the world. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. The left
I can hardly wait.
is coming out of the closet. They are saying to the world, whether they know it or not, that they are control freaks. And they cannot stand that Silicon Valley might have one company, a single company that they don't control, because they control Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley controls Washington, D.C. I think they have, 30 lobbyists at Silicon Valley per congressman. They write all the laws. So Musk now has control, and Bezos is jealous because Bezos owns the Post, and these billionaires get into these pissing contests with each other. And he can't stand that this guy's rockets are better. And now he owns a platform that might be more influential. So he's trying to play the China card and saying, oh, yeah, you know what? If Musk owns this platform, the CCP is now going to take control. OK, that's almost as dumb as playing the race card. You know the left is losing when they're playing the race card. How is free speech racist? How does more speech hurt black people? I can't figure that out. The algorithms are the real issue. Because once the algorithms are stripped of all the partisanship, we're going to be able to see what Twitter's really all about. We're going to be able to see what really trends. And also how these fact checkers are in bed with these Twitter executives. You know, they have these deals with factcheck.org and the Pinocchio people. And if you say something about hydroxychloroquine or the lab leak, they'll rate it as false, and then they'll ban you. And they're not just banning doctors. They banned Tucker. They banned comedians like the Babylon Bee. They banned Charlie Kirk. Poor little Charlie Kirk had a meme up, and they banned. So that's not fair. What's happening right now is there's a class of people that move from Twitter to YouTube to Facebook to Washington, D.C., and they run everything. And they can't stand that they have this one company that they don't control. And that's why you're seeing them, as I said, come out of the closet.
Well, you know, Greg, one of the interesting things is that Psaki said that Biden is especially concerned about social media platforms having power over our everyday lives. Now, I just think the irony and the hypocrisy is outrageous there, given that that platform, you'd think he'd be grateful. It pretty much kept away the Hunter Biden story and denied free speech and freedom of the press when he was running for president. And then he got in because a lot of people didn't know about what was being said.
Who is more dangerous? Is it Twitter or is it President Biden? It's obviously President Biden. This is a guy who singled out a Border Patrol agent claiming that he was holding a whip and whipping people. That
whip story.
I know, isn't it terrible?
That whip story?
I know, it's terrible, isn't it,
But it's a
Geraldo?
simple story and it's an example of how they turn things that aren't accurate.
It's a cliche.
It's not a cliche.
Yeah, so was,
they're still not able to work.
All right.
Okay. Wait, can I continue with my, before I was rudely interrupted by Al Capone's vault? Talk about
cliches.
So
we agree.
So the point being, if you'd let me finish, is that they are claiming that Twitter is an avenue of disinformation. What I'm saying is most of the disinformation is coming from the White House. It's not coming from people on Twitter. The problem with what you're seeing, and what you're seeing is this performative, untethered tantrum, is that they're like children that they got their hands caught in the cookie jar. Twitter was their playground. They could get away with this stuff. But now that Musk rode in on his, on his Tesla and bought the thing, they realize, why are they so upset? What is wrong with these people? Why are they so angry? It's because it's over. It's like you said, now we all know. Their anger is their coming out. They're saying, my God, this no longer belongs to us. We no longer have the great seat at the window of the restaurant. Ari Melber, where has that moron been for 5 years? We've been talking about the manipulation of narratives on social media, including the New York Post story with Hunter Biden, including the blacklisting or the shadow banning of people. And then he goes like, oh, wow, now Elon Musk is in control. We have to worry about this. He didn't seem to care when it benefited his side. All Musk is doing is adding more voices. And that, you got to ask yourself, why does that scare them? Why does more voices scare them? It is like that hotel flashlight that people use to see stains. That's what this story's doing to the left. You can actually see the people who are scared of opposing ideas. They are so lazy. They can't fight for their perspectives, so they have to silence it. This is a great day. This is a great week for freedom of speech.
I agree.
To see this happen.
I agree. But, Geraldo, Ari Melber says, quote, elections could be swayed by Twitter's targeting of political candidates. How can that guy say that with a straight face? And how does Joy Reid come out and say Elon Musk is a free speech absolutist? That's BS. When Barack Obama said he was a free speech absolutist, that's BS because he believes in cutting down misinformation.
I totally applaud the plethora of different diverse voices in the media. And I have seen the whole arc of it in the half century I've been on television. So I appreciate Joy Reid, even Ari Melber. They're just flat wrong. They are just flat wrong. I mean, they are frightened, and it's almost as if they got briefed by a coach who said, all of us are going to be against Musk's takeover of Twitter. They have no idea what Musk's politics are. What's Musk's politics? I don't know if he's a Republican, a Democrat. He seems like Dave Chappelle or Bill Maher to me, or you.
He's probably a libertarian.
Yeah, he's just like a freewheeling, creative force of nature there. And I think my only misgiving is nothing having to do with Joy Reid or Sunny, what's her name from The View? I really blanked on her. Halstead?
Sunny, what's her name?
Yeah, whatever, that's enough. Okay. That's enough.
Where does that come from? Where does this racism fear come from? Is everything racist that you don't like? I just, the one caveat is, to finish my thought, that if Trump doesn't go on new Twitter, I think Musk overpaid. That's my...
Okay, and finally to you, Dana. Why is Dorsey so supportive of Elon Musk? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I've brought this.
800 million reasons why.
He just became a billionaire.
Yeah, but...
I've said this before. I don't know the backstory. I don't know either of them, but I have heard that they've long time been friends. And then Dorsey left about 6 months ago, and I think that he probably thought that Twitter was going in free fall. But also remember, Twitter is a terrible business. The board was furious. They were not making money. They were not doing the things that the board was suggesting that they do. So financially, this was great for those people that were on the board, and also for the employees. There's a lot of employees there. They have stock options. Well, you guys just got paid. If you don't like it anymore, we've got a 2% unemployment rate, and so knock yourselves out. But the left is finally acknowledging that they thought they owned the public square, and now they're terrified of losing it. But it reminds me of, just if you go back to when you worked at American Spectator, if you were a conservative communications person back then, and let's say you work for a Republican congressman, there were about 4 places you might be able to get your congressman's statement in, and it was the American Spectator, no longer in existence, the Weekly Standard, National Review, and maybe the Wall Street Journal editorial page, except there's a really high bar to get there. And then Twitter comes on the scene, and then all of a sudden, there's a level playing field. And then who took advantage of it initially was Barack Obama. He was so far ahead. They had cat lovers for Obama on Twitter, and they were raising $5 and then President Trump beat the Democrats and the Hillary team on Twitter, and then it escalated. And if you look at when did all the censorship start? And it wasn't all at once. It was just a little bit here and a little bit there. And that's why this week does feel so momentous. And I'm also looking forward to the celebrity death match between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Oh, so
I will be there.
that'd be great.
Can I ask you a quick question, though, before we go?
Go ahead.
Is he saying, Musk, that he's going to verify everybody? Everybody gets a check?
Human.
Oh, that's why the media doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Because they're all jealous.
It's like the restaurant they lost the preference.
Is it possible that we could go for, I know. Is it possible that we could go for some kind of objective, this is not proven science when it's something comes up with
You know what?
How about you prove it wrong?
How
about you prove it
back and forth. Up next, the White House doesn't seem to mind the design.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.